This one came out of the early logging camps of North America in the 19th century. A lone axeman scouting the woods would hear faint steps behind him, but whenever he turned to look, there was nothing. When he turned away, the creature attacked, claiming the axeman with one swipe of its claws. This was the Hidebehind. Armed with long claws like a grizzly and a degree of stealth that would make a shinobi jealous, the Hidebehind was a very dangerous creature. It walked erect, with dark black fur, a long tail, and a slim bill so it could conceal itself behind almost any tree. Since it used trees to hide its approach, it was never outside of the woods. Its favorite snack was human intestines, a gastronomic preference it shared with the Japanese demon cat, the kasha. Unlike the kasha, however, the Hidebehind liked its food fresh. One might wonder how so much was known about the Hidebehind's appearance and habits. After all, no one who had seen one would likely live long enough to describe it. Keep wondering. I'll join you. A rather obscure creature of the American frontier hill country, not known to be particularly dangerous. Its main feature was its legs were of different lengths. That's supposedly so it could easily walk around hills and mountainsides, its favorite haunt. The peculiarity of its legs was a trait it shared with the dahu of the Swiss Alps and the wild haggis of Scotland. Whether this was parallel evolution or the creatures were related is beyond the scope of this video. There is some dispute about the creature's proper name. Side-hill badger and side-hill winder were two other possibilities raised as the frontier slowly moved from east to west, but most stuck with gouger. The creature was called the gouger because, since its leftmost legs were usually shorter than the right, it was always easier to take the same counterclockwise direction around the hill or mountain every day as it foraged for food. So it would eventually make a bare circular path around the hill. You could tell if gougers were on a particular hill by these paths. One might wonder how the gougers would reach new territory, as the nature of their legs would make it difficult for them to travel flat country or even change from one hill to another. The folklore has that covered too. Every now and then a gouger would be born with his shorter pair of legs on the right-hand side instead. Normally this meant the creature would circumnavigate the hill clockwise and perhaps occasionally wave at one of his cousins going the other way. However, when the population pressure became too great and new territory was needed, a gouger would seek out a companion whose legs were opposite of their own, and they would lean on each other and so have four legs of roughly equal length between them, and so strike out together for new vistas. This bizarre creature resembles an ape with long arms and a muscular body. It usually lives in old hollow trees with lots of dead limbs. It has an extremely unpleasant disposition, which some sources attribute to its diet of owls, rotten wood, and the occasional woodpecker. It was said to resent any intrusions into its forest, and so the lumberjacks and foresters of the American colonies were the special targets of its anger. When the Agropelter detected a human with an axe in its section of the woods, it would emerge from its hollow, snap off one of the many dead limbs available there, and wait. If the person passed within range, the creature would either hurl the dead limb at them or, if the situation allowed, simply dropped it from high to fall down and smash on the unfortunate person's head. They were known to select trees close to a forest path, if possible, to make this more convenient. The Agropelter was sometimes referred to as the Widowmaker, for obvious reasons, which was also the term for a rotten limb on an otherwise sound tree that would fall on whoever tried to fell said tree at the first touch of the axe. Maybe it was better to think that a villainous Agropelter got them rather than they simply got careless. Found in the forests of the Pacific Northwest, the splinter cat is a large muscular feline with short, strong legs and a muzzle made of very dense bone. The splinter cat will seek out a tree, usually hollow, climb to what it considers a likely spot, and batter the tree with its bone snout until the tree shatters. If inside it finds bees, honey, or a bewildered raccoon, it's happy, as those are its favorite foods. If it doesn't, it gets annoyed and simply finds another tree, suitable or not, and bashes it until it shatters. It'll keep doing that until it finds something to eat, which might take a while. When loggers found a shattered trunk instead of a tree, they would often agree that the splinter cat had been there. They would also agree that the splinter cat is just not very bright. The snallygaster was rumored to be a large flying creature combining the aspects of bird and reptile. It had sharp claws and a terrifying cry, first emerging in rural areas of Maryland. A lone trapper was reputed to be the first to see it, but there were other sightings, often second or third hand, so specifics about its appearance are a little vague. Actually, facts about its appearance and habits are almost non-existent. Some sort of cockatrice-like creature, or perhaps an ancient survivor. We don't know. Neither, apparently, does anyone else. Cool name, though. If you do happen to see one rumor is it can be driven away by making noise. Worth a try. Just don't forget to snap a picture of it first, just in case. This one comes to us from the miner folklore of Colorado. The slide rock bolter is a giant who clings to the side of a mountain waiting for prey to pass by underneath it. When a likely meal is spotted, the creature will release its hold, slide down the rock, and either land on or otherwise capture the prey. Sometimes the potential meal will be some local animal or another, but apparently at one point its preferred prey was believed to be tourists. You can't help but think perhaps the miners were having a laugh. Regardless, the legend still persists, as do the tourists. The squonk is now believed to be found only in Pennsylvania, though its range was once considerably wider. It is rare because, like the side-hill gouger, it usually foraged in a counterclockwise direction, though around swampy terrain, not hills, so much that it grew webbing on its left foot, as that was the one usually in the water. Legend has it that if a squonk enters the water directly, it can only swim in circles. Why? Because of its webbed left foot. Unfortunately, the squonk will never figure this out and so never find its way back to shore and perish trying. One trait that the squonk clearly shares with the splinter cat is it's just not very bright. Being a bit thick is, unfortunately, the least of the creature's problems. The squonk, no sense beating around the subject, is objectively ugly. You think beauty is in the eye of the beholder? Not if you're beholding a squonk. They're possibly the homeliest creatures on earth, and the unfortunate wretches are only too aware of that. Loose-fitting, warty skin, and a face even a mother couldn't love. A squonk is a miserable creature at the best of times. Just be glad you'll likely never see one, and it's best for the squonk if you don't. Legend says it will dissolve into a puddle of tears if anyone does manage to see it, likely out of shame and fatal embarrassment. Native to northern Mexico and the southwestern U.S., the cactus cat is a scruffy-looking feline with spines like a cactus on its back and tail, and two long claws on each front foot. Its spines, however, are not why it's called the cactus cat. That has more to do with the creature's relation to the giant saguaro cactus. Legend says that the cactus cat will locate a giant cactus, and the bigger the better. Once it has found a suitable specimen, the cat will proceed to make small slashes around the base of the cactus, working slowly and precisely until it has covered the entire base of the circumference of that cactus. By the time it reaches its starting point, the sap that has oozed from the cuts has fermented and makes a sweet and intoxicating treat. The cactus cat will then work its way again around the entire cactus, lapping up the sweet and powerful nectar. And by the time it's done, the cactus cat will be completely hammered. There are other details, such as the cactus cat is rare now and only appears when the sky is darkest, or that it can walk over the desert sand, leaving no footprints. What it apparently doesn't do is any real harm. It is said to be mischievous and a bit rowdy when it's in its cups, but likely no more than anyone else, though inebriated. Probably best just to leave it alone to sleep it off. This legend likely appeared first in Wyoming and then spread around the Southwest. The jackalope manifests as a large jackrabbit with the horns of a pronghorn antelope, or sometimes the antlers of a deer. I say manifests for reasons I'll explain in a moment. Occasionally you will see taxidermic constructs claiming to be real jackalopes, but you can rest assured these are all fake. Why? Because in my research into the subject I have come to realize that the jackalope is neither a complete fraud nor an odd but natural creature, but an actual member of the Fae, and thus likely impossible to either capture or successfully hunt. Consider, the jackalope is known to sometimes lead travelers astray, just like a will-o-wisp. At other times it will mimic human voices so perfectly that it will sometimes sing along when a cowboy pulls out his guitar by the campfire. What natural animal does that? I'm telling you, the jackalope has a fairy nature. Best not to mess with it. Otherwise, well, I warned you. The legend of the Hodag began in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, though there's a rumor it was first spotted in Maine. The specimen was allegedly captured and stuffed by a man named Eugene Shepard and presented as proof of the creature's existence in 1895 in the Rhinelander area. The specimen was a monster, with a frog-like face, a head with 2 horns, the body of a reptile, and spines along its back. He may even have used this construction to fake sightings of the creature. I say fake because the Hodag was a complete hoax, created by Shepard, who was a prankster and created the myth of the Hodag from whole cloth. But oddly enough, that didn't seem to matter. The local people were fascinated by the idea of the Hodag and took it to their hearts. The Hodag became the mascot for sports teams, artists created thriving businesses producing Hodag souvenir items, and every year Rhinelander celebrates the Hodag with a festival of food and music. It's all in good fun, but in case they're wrong about the creature not actually existing, take a lemon along with you if you happen to be hiking in the woods of Wisconsin, especially anywhere near Rhinelander. While the Hodag is also a morose creature like the squonk, it is well aware of its odd appearance, and rather than being ashamed, it gets angry if seen, and especially if you laugh at it. If you can't keep from laughing, hit it with a lemon. The Hodag, also according to legend, simply cannot handle citrus. Clearly, you've realized by now that every single one of these creatures began as a tall tale, or a mistaken identity, or a deliberate hoax. Does that mean they're not real? You have to decide that for yourself. I just know that the stories are real, and the effect they've had on their communities is real. Asking for more than that seems a tad greedy to me.